Thank you very much, Andrew. We're with Greg Ibach, the Director of the Nebraska Department of Agriculture. And Greg, always a great event, the Governor's Ag Conference. Governor Ricketts second, but what, you're 10th, 11th, or 12th? You've been doing this for a while. How's the Ag Conference kind of morphed through the years and evolved through the years?
Well, this is the 28th annual one overall, and I think I've been involved with these since 1999, so that's getting to be a long time, isn't it? And I think that in a way it hasn't really morphed very much. The topics have changed over time and gotten more complicated, from very production oriented maybe to now more consumer and futuristic, and realizing what a global trade world we're in, and everything's global now as well.
You look at your three headlines on issues: trade, biotech, and sustainability. Kind of shows that evolution, as you mentioned, and kind of how things have evolved into the 21st century with farming, ranching, and producing.
Yes, well, biotechnology is an important consumer question now, and I think it's a responsibility that maybe we didn't embrace early enough as agriculture, helping consumers understand what that meant to them and the positives it brought to them. Consumers are anxious to embrace biotechnology and new advances when it comes to human health, and they should be comfortable that the same research that's going into those approvals or more is going into the food side of things, and we need to get them there, because I think consumers shouldn't and probably really don't expect agriculture to use 100-year-old technology to produce food for the world today.
Absolutely not. We talked about with the governor, producers concerned about commodity prices, even livestock prices have leveled off. What's a producer to do to make it through such difficult times? That coupled with pretty high property taxes, as we also heard from the governor.
Yeah, so that's kind of a double whammy for us in agriculture. I heard a lady express to the governor today that her property taxes on her farm went up 24% last year. And that would be a similar number to what my property taxes went up on my farm at home. And so that's a dramatic increase, and so you can understand why agriculture is crying uncle. But and then you couple that with low commodity prices. And I think the biggest concern maybe that I have about that is, we have established farmers that have been through the highs and lows of production agriculture. I remember the 80s, and a lot of producers do. But we've brought a lot of younger farmers home in the last 10 years. And they saw their first increase in interest rates in their farming experience this year. Always before it had been decreases in interest rates. And this is probably, this financial crush and lack of profitability for some of them. That's the first time they've seen that. So that's something for them to have to manage into that they're not familiar with.
I know we're pressed for time, about time for you to go. One final thing kind of related to legislative action. We talked to the governor at length about the property tax proposals, but the right to farm constitutional amendment seemed stalled in committee yesterday, or actually the day before, pulled out of committee by a 5-2 vote yesterday, and it's back and will go to the floor. Are there any ramifications for the average everyday producer from that potential constitutional amendment we may get to vote upon?
I think there's no doubt that agriculture drives our Nebraska economy. A town, especially like Kearney, realizes very well that when farmers are doing well, they're in town buying vehicles, buying equipment, buying clothes, and technology here in town, and so it increases the economic activity here in Kearney. And so we definitely need to look into the future and find ways that we protect that production agriculture side. I think that there will be a healthy debate. I know that there's Senator Chambers doesn't like the idea of right to farm at all, so it'll be interesting to see that transform. But the concept and the discussion around how we protect agriculture from outside interest groups is something that's very important that we need to have.
Well, Greg, thanks for taking some time out. I know you're busy. You've got other things to get to. as usual, another great ag conference that you and your folks have put together. Thank you.
Thank you for always being interested in agriculture subjects and sharing the good word.
Nebraska Ag Director Greg Ibach this morning on Talk of the Town. That does it here from the Holiday Inn. The Ag Conference actually wraps up early this afternoon. I think the last speaker around 12:15, 12:30. And planning and guessing for the 29th annual event probably starts tomorrow in the Ag Department offices. Greg, thanks again. And Drew, we'll send it back to you now. Thank you, sir.
Okay.